Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and this week it's time to put a headliner in the Alfarrari. Alright guys, before we get into the video today, I thought we'd take a second out to thank this week's sponsor, which is 70 MAI with their dashcam Omni. It's a full 360 degree, full HD dashcam. So this thing has AI motion detection and collision protection that is running all the time. So it's got 24-hour security for when you're parked and stuff like that. It's got AI motion detection, so it can tell when something's about to happen and turn and face that direction and capture it, and it captures sort of 5 seconds leading up to an accident and things like that as well. It sounds like it's a really good bit of kit. I'm going to unpack it now and install it into my daily driver, and we'll see how it works.
So you can see that it comes with all the stuff you need to mount it, including the charging cables, adhesives, and all the rest of the bits and pieces, and a handy little trim tool.
So I'm going to install the dashcam Omni today into my daily driver. Basically, I'm just going to take one of these electric static stickers that I'm going to put up behind my rear vision mirror, and then the dashcam just sticks onto that, and then we'll look at some wiring.
It's probably better to mount it a little bit lower than I have so that it can see underneath the mirror, and you can clip it on and off of the mount with a simple twist.
All right, so it really was that easy to install, and then all we have to do is actually get some power to it. Now, it does come with a cigarette lighter type USB port and the cable to go with it, but in my case, I've actually got the hard wiring kit, and I prefer to hardwire it.
So I tuck the wires with the handy trim tool provided. Opening up my fuse box, the wires are clearly labelled, and I wrap them around the outgoing leg of an existing fuse. Constant power and switch power, and then just ground to the chassis. I just close it all back up, and it's easy as that.
Shoot left. Shoot inside. All right, well that was really easy to install, all wired up. It took me 10 minutes, but let's take it out on the road and see what the video's like.
So you can see how crisp and clear the video is here, giving time, date, location, speed, all the information you could ever want. And you can see how crystal clear the nighttime footage is as well. Another really cool feature is the AI motion detection that can capture suspicious behaviour even while the car is parked.
So that was really easy to install, and the footage is really, really crisp and really good quality. I'm very happy with that. So go and check it out, the dashcam Omni. I'll put a link in the description so you can have a look and yeah, help the guys that help out the channel. All right, let's get back to the Alfa. All right guys, welcome back, and those watching last week will have seen that I put the flares onto the Alfarrari, and it is looking fantastic. I am very, very happy with the result. If you missed it, I'll put a link up above so you can catch up, and please think about subscribing. It does really help the channel out. So every week we are gradually chipping away at the Alfarrari and getting more and more pieces onto the car, but there is still a lot way to go at the moment, and one of the big things we need to tackle is the interior. And at the moment, there's pretty much nothing in there. So I think the first thing that we need to get to is the headlining. So let's take you over there now, and I'll show you what my plans are. Some of you who are new to the Alfarrari may not be aware. Those of you who have followed my previous projects will know that I do every single part of this project myself. That's the thing. That's the home built thing, and that includes sewing the entire interior. And that is going to mean starting with this headlining. Now, there's a little bit that goes into this one because the Alfa headliner is slightly different to a lot of the other cars of the day. Basically, it has one of these, if I can pull it back out again, one of these roof bows, so just one. And then this one sort of sits roughly here, so sort of in the center of the front seat. And then at the back, it's got this weird frame. It's a bit odd, but there's a frame, and there's a sort of a separate panel in above the headlining in the rear of the car. I'm not sure whether that was for sort of rear passenger headroom or what it was. Apparently, I think some of the GTA race cars and things like that actually had 3 bows or something along those lines. But I've got the stuff here. I don't have the extra bows, so I think the best way is to do it the way it was originally, and that means working things out. Now, because I don't have a headlining to use as a pattern, I'm going to have to make my own. And I know that it doesn't do the A-pillars. The A-pillars are a separate piece that I need to tackle later. It just goes from the front through to the back, and then I need to sew on little strips on either side for the C-pillars. So what material am I going to use? And I have chosen to use Alcantara, or micro suede as it's probably more accurately known as. Alcantara is a brand name. I really like this material. I think it's going to look really nice in the car. So I'm going to start stretching it out now, marking it up, working out roughly how much I'm going to need and where I'm going to need to sort of sew things and do things. And yeah, let's start working out some dimensions. All right, and next thing I need to do before I put the headlining in is I need to get some wiring in for the dome lights. Now, I do have the wiring in down near the door for the dome light switches, and dome lights on most cars are generally earth switched. So basically they have positive running to the lights all the time. And when you open the door, that little switch inside the door actually earths out to the car, and that actually completes the circuit and you get your dome lights to come on. And it also needs to be switched when either door opens. So basically what I'm going to be doing, I've already got the power over on the passenger side here. I'm going to run power and the switch wire up through the A-pillar and through to the dome light on this side, continue the power and switch over to the other side, and then the switch again down to the driver's side. The power doesn't need to go the whole loop. So that means that they'll both have power. The power will be connected through, and because I'm sending the ground switch from both sides and they're both linked together, if either side opens the door, the circuit is completed and the lights will come on. So that's the plan. So let's run some wires down through the pillars, and we can wire that up once the headliner is in later. But for the time being, let's get some wire in there. So I wanted these wires to travel together, so to make them easier to handle, I just connected them to my drill, connected them into the vise at the other end at the rough length that I want, and just spin the drill, and it does a nice spiral the whole way down and twists the wires nice and evenly together. So now I can take these and start wiring them into the car. Another very handy tip is you may have noticed that there's a piece of wire inside my A-pillars, and that is worth doing when you dismantle your car originally, and you've got wires already going through tight spaces like the A-pillars here. If you can actually, before you pull it out, tie a piece of wire, piece of something onto the end of it so you can pull it through, and then this is just looped out and then through onto itself. So now I already have something through there. So to feed these wires through that hole, all I need to do is attach this new wires to it and then draw it through. Makes life much, much easier. All right, so I've clipped in the basic shape of the headlining. It's very loose and baggy, but I've gone through and I've actually marked with a bit of crayon on either side where I've got to put the pleat. So to hold my rib. And I've also marked in these back corners where I need to sew on my extension for the C-pillars. So it's time to take this back to the sewing machine and see if we can add some bits on. All right, so I just did a quick test piece. I sewed in the pocket for my bow just to make sure I've got the dimensions right, and it's a tight fit, but it goes through and I can actually get it on and off, so it'll actually work. And I worked out it needs to be about 12.5 millimeters of the pocket, and that is just big enough to get it through. I tried it at 10 millimeters, it wouldn't fit. Now, another little trick that I have with sewing and getting a nice even edge when I've got two pieces, or in this case, I'm trying to get this nice even fold here. I actually marked 3 lines, but I've crossed out one because this is an arrow. So this is where the fold is going to be, and this lower line is where I'm going to sew. So what I want to do is I want to fold this in half, but I'm going to go along with my stapler and staple along the edge so I can hold it all perfectly in place beforehand. So when I run it through the machine, I just have to concentrate with sewing a nice straight line, and I don't need to worry about lining up the material underneath. So I'm going to go through, let's staple it now, and then we can run our stitch along, and hopefully our little bar fits inside. All right, that is just the right size to get my my bow through, so I'm quite happy. We have the first part done. Now we need to make some tails to match up with the C-pillars. All right, so I've got my headliner all sewn together now, which I'm very happy about, and now I need to put an extra layer of foam into a bunch of the places in the car. And for that, what I'm going to use the Car Builders Insulator that I've got here. This stuff is it's a nice sort of good quality acoustic foam. I'm going to put a patch and sort of cover the front headliner section, and then the rear I need to do a patch that fits sort of inside of this frame. Obviously I need to leave the gap for this frame so that it can fit up and everything can sort of move around it nicely and stuff like that. So let's lay it out now, start cutting out my bits and fitting this up, and then we can start looking at putting the headlining in. Okay, so I've got all of my acoustic liner foam all the way around the edges. I've done a strip around the edges, but left a gap so that the headlining can go on there and get clipped onto the metal of the car itself. I've screwed that rear frame in place, and I've put the acoustic liner there to start with. And what I did is I measured where the front bow goes and drawn a line across, and then measured from the bow to where the frame starts. And that measurement is vital to work out where to mount the frame, because the next thing you need to do is mount this metal frame onto my headliner. All right, well, the headlining is starting to look really good. That cutout in the framework worked really well. Cutting them out, I used the car builder scissors. They actually sent them to me with the rest of the stuff, and they are actually fantastic. They actually called them finally a decent pair of scissors, and they really are. Like, yes, this is sponsored, but still really, really, really good scissors. It makes such a difference when you're doing trimming work to have some really good scissors. A lot of people ask me about the glue as well that I use. This is not sponsored. This stuff is dear as poison, but it's really good. I use, it's called Tensor Grip T65. I know lots of you ask what it is, and this works really well. I've used all different brands and all different stuff. This was recommended by a trimmer friend, and it actually really works, but it is very, very expensive. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my rib back in, or my bow, I should say. And for the ends, they normally have a little rubber cap. I'm going to put a little bit of heat shrink on them. That will give us the space and sort of hold a little better than the rubber caps. And then we'll put it back in the car. All right, so it's hard to actually get a good picture, but this center panel is looking really good, and I had to go around and I've screwed the frame in all the way around. Having to be really careful, you need to keep nice short screws, 9mm long screws maximum, because if you go longer, you can actually dent the roof of the car, so you have to be super careful of that. But as you can see, it's all screwed in all the way around the edges. And then this is where the bow is. Basically, the bow is a loop, and to put it in, you sort of lie it flat and then pull it up forwards towards the front of the car. And at the moment, it's not all the way up. Basically, what I need to do now is start going around and tensioning the edges all the way around and start clipping it in and getting a basic shape together so that I can sort of gradually pull all the wrinkles out and get it looking nice and neat. All right, so you can get an idea of how I'm working my way through. Now, these are sort of the hardest bits to get. The tight bits are on this sort of short area. So I'm sort of, pulling at it. You can see there's still a little bit of a crease there that I need to try and work at. And working my way along, trying to get the corners, particularly the corners, getting it all pulled out straight. But you can see that it's actually coming together quite nicely. I mean, you can see I haven't started on this side yet, and it's all baggy, and it's a matter of trying to trim and pull and get rid of all of these little buckles and creases around the place to try and get it sitting nice. So I'm going to work my way around the frame and start gluing these edges now. Work our way around and start gluing. All right, that is looking fantastic. So basically, I've still got the clips all the way around the edge. I'm leaving that, just leaving the glue some time to set up. It sets up pretty quickly, but I'm just going to leave it over the weekend and stuff. But the total effect is really good. I've got sort of the little hint of a crease on this side, on either side there, which I can probably sort out. When I can sort of stick this bit down and sort of take this out. It is looking really, really good. That, if I can get down as far as I can, that's a nice looking headliner. And made from scratch. I am very, very happy. All right, I am really happy with the result of that. It was fiddly, and I knew it would be. It always is these sort of things, but it's turned out really good. I'm very happy with the Alcantara finish, which I think will be a really nice addition to this car once I start getting the interior going. I do have all the leather, but I have not shown any of you guys what it is yet, and that will still be something to come. So yeah, we're ticking boxes. So next week we'll see what's going on. I might be back doing a few more bits and pieces to get the engine in the car. It's just a matter of juggling, having parts and things that I need to be able to see where I can go each week. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it, but I think that means it's time for Fun Facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, the Ferrari 355 Challenge was a one-make racing series designed by Ferrari between 1995 and 2000. The cars were based on the Ferrari 355 Berlinetta. 355 Challenge was designed to be an affordable way for Ferrari drivers and enthusiasts to experience the thrill of racing a Ferrari on a racetrack. The cars used in the series were nearly identical to the road-going 355s, but with a few modifications to improve the track racing experience, such as stiffer suspension, race seats, and roll cages. The series was a success, with races held in Europe, North America, and Asia. The races were typically held in conjunction with other racing series, such as the International Sports Racing Series and the British GT Championship. The 355 Challenge also served as somewhat of a stepping stone for young drivers looking to break into professional motorsport. Several drivers who competed in the series went on to have very successful careers in motorsport, such as Jamie Davies, who won the 1998 series and went on to compete in the 24 Hours of Le Mans and the FIA GT Championship. The 355 Challenge was replaced by the Ferrari 360 Challenge in 2000. However, the 355 Challenge still remains a very beloved part of Ferrari's history and is sought after by collectors and enthusiasts alike.
All right, headlining is marked off. It's another thing off the list, which is great. There's just ticking away, ticking these boxes. I'm really happy with how that turned out. Being able to sort of make it all from scratch without a template there.
Dare I say it? Home built.
Home built, yes. And I sort of really enjoy the trimming side of things. Obviously, I've done a little bit of it now with Harry and the Alfarrari, and the 680G, the 240Z. So yeah, I'm getting a bit more of a taste for it, and and I really enjoy sort of making that stuff happen. So it's looking good.
Well, let Jeff know what you think. He loves reading your comments, as I say every time, as he does. And like, subscribe, Patreon, you know all of that. And we are actually having some warm weather here for once, so
it's been quite
exciting.
Quite sticky here in the garage today, which is finally at the end of summer, we're finally getting some summer days. So
after 3 years of quite dismal weather.
We pretty much missed summer for like 3 years. It was just wet and miserable and horrible. So
anyway, enough about the weather.
Yes. All right,
see
guys.
you next time.
See ya.
Bye. To improve the track experience, such as roll cage, suspension, and one other thing I can't quite remember. Stiffer suspension. Oh, I said that. Racing seats. I could do it again.
Yes.
It's a success with races held in Britain, the rest of Europe, compete in the 24 Hours of the Le Mans and the FIA CT Championship.
GT.
CT. Okay. The 355 Challenge